My name is Musa Adnan. That's Ustad Yusha Evans. This is ReRooted. And here's what's coming up next.
Social media, I believe, is like a huge arm or wing of giving us an understanding of how close the time of a Dajjal is. You don't know me. You don't have no idea who I am. And I think people who saw the first few podcasts I did on Reflections had to take a step back. Say, whoa, you know what I mean? Maybe there's way more going on. And I wanted to do that for a reason. I wanted to show people that just because a person's a public speaker, you see them on global platform traveling the world, don't mean that their life is, cream puffs and rainbows and, Medina's on the top of my list. You know what I mean? You could drop me off there and I could be homeless for the rest of my life and I'd be satisfied.
Okay, so let's say aside from Medina.
But my favorite places to travel, and I'm not saying this just because I'm here, are UK and Australia until I got banned. And the reason being is because...
Assalamu alaikum. Ustad Yusha.
Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How's things?
Alhamdulillah. Things are always well.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. It's amazing to have you here. You are one of the people that we've wanted on the show for a long time.
MashaAllah.
Been discussed in the office. The messages were sent. And alhamdulillah, you're finally here. There's people that we've been trying to get, and it's very, very, it's a difficult process, but alhamdulillah, finally here to benefit from everything, inshallah, that you have to offer.
It's my pleasure.
I'm going to need to pick your mind on a lot of things. But before that, you're someone that, Allahumma barak, you've been involved in the Dawa scene for a very, very long time now.
A little bit, yeah.
Can I say over a decade?
It's probably over a decade, yeah.
Over a decade, Allahu Akbar. So, I'm sure you're no new face to people. People have seen you before, etc. You've done many different conferences worldwide, worked with many, many different different people, been in different environments and many of the different continents as well with your da'wah. So a question that I would like to ask, because I know that when you come on podcasts, you often talk about very different topics, Islamic topics, etc. We're going to do that as well. First question that I want to get started with, though, is how does Ustad Yusha Evans spend his spare time?
Spare time. What is spare time? What is free time?
It doesn't exist in your world.
I don't have a whole lot of it. But when I do have free time, number one, I've said this now enough times that most people who've seen any other podcast or seen my podcast or seen anything else, they know that by nature I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
It's my base state.
Okay.
So in my free time, I like being at home. I like being at home with family. I'm not an out and about person all the time. I'm not a socialite. I'm not a social butterfly. I don't like crowds. I don't like big gatherings. I like more small, intimate settings. So for me, free time is home, doing something productive or something that helps take me out of, I don't want to say the da'wah mode, but out of that personal public speaker mode. So doing something with my, kids, taking them out to the park. I have hobbies like I like tinkering with cars. I like building things. I like sports. So, in my free time, I try to find things that are going to kind of center me again. That give me some balance, so it doesn't seem like I'm always on the go. I'm always in the public eye. I have to have a reprieve from that. If not, I start like shutting down inside. As an introvert, I need my own personal space at time. I need to be able to even spend time by myself. Yeah. Because I very rarely get that chance, just to have time on my own. So I have a number of things I like to do. I'm just a normal person at the end of the day. Yeah. So I have certain hobbies that I like to do that might not necessarily be called, part of the whole religious idea that people have of you, but that's problematic in the first place. I've tried to speak about that on many occasions, but I have some normal activities I like to do.
That's kind of what I want to kind of zoom in on. So those normal activities away from the kind of religious kind of side of it. For example, could you give us some examples of what's the main thing you enjoy doing when you're at home and you want to kind of go into a different space a little bit? What's the main thing?
I go to my garage and I tinker.
With your car.
With either with my car or some other project that I might be working on.
Interesting.
I like building things, working with my hands. It's just something that's kind of innate in me from being a Southern boy, born and raised.
Yeah.
Is that we like to do things on our own. Like there might be some projects in my house that I'm gonna do. Like, okay, I couldn't find a bookshelf that I like, so I'm gonna build a bookshelf. That's my type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I might be tinkering with something like that in the garage, building something, or creating something with my own two hands. It's something that I find a lot of satisfaction in.
Interesting. The reason I wanted to actually kind of like speak about these sort of things, you just mentioned like right before we started, we can see like there's the coffee cup on the table. You love your coffee.
Yeah, I like coffee. I'm a connoisseur of coffee.
How do you like your coffee?
Plain. I like espresso, full fat milk, and nothing else.
Nice. Okay.
That's it. I'm simple like that.
But
being a connoisseur, it's about the grade of the espresso, the way that it's made, the way the milk is heated and steamed. There's a process behind that.
I don't think I'm on that level yet, because I've recently just started taking coffee a little bit seriously. So I'm still on like, I don't know, the Starbucks caffeine. I don't know if that's good or bad, or like Caffeinero.
It's all right. It's a bit of a burnt coffee. Yeah. I take the shortcut. I have found a very good Nespresso machine that I use, but I foam my own milk and stuff like that. But it makes, I don't have the time in my life to have like a full-fledged espresso machine and work that.
Yeah.
Nespresso makes some good products. We're not sponsored by them by any means whatsoever, but they make some good products that'll make the espresso well for you to start off with.
I can see myself getting an espresso machine in the future because of how interested I've gotten into coffee.
It's simplistic. The Nespresso machine is just it just works. It's kind of like the Apple of coffee. It just works. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah.
I like that.
It just works. They're not cheap, you know what I mean? But I've had my Nespresso machine for like 2 years, and it just works. I went from the same thing, having like a Starbucks every morning, or they have something called a Caribou in the Midwest, to now making my own coffee every morning. And not only is it a better experience because I think I make better coffee, it's a lot more cheap. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot more economical than a $5 coffee at Starbucks every morning.
Interesting. So like, you just said like about being from the Midwest and stuff. I've always as like a child had this like and I think a lot of us growing up, we had this kind of thing, especially in the UK, where we look at America and like the Americas in general as something kind of fantasized, in the sense where like it's different, everything's bigger over there. When you go, like this, everything, the whole vibe, it's different. It's like what kind of all cultures
it is different
look towards. So recently I was in Toronto, obviously not part of America, but like kind of North America, right?
North America. Canada and America are quite different as well.
They're quite different, but it was different for me because that was my first time in that sort of area of the world. And alhamdulillah, I've had the privilege to be in different areas, Africa, Asia. I've been like Malaysia, like very different places, Switzerland, seeing the Alps, alhamdulillah. But like when I went to Canada, it was truly like a very different experience. So like you have brothers ordering coffees that are like this big. Like, and I was like, bro, how are you gonna drink that by yourself? They're like, bro, this is normal. This is our like medium, or like this is our large.
Yeah,
we have extra large.
At Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons.
They took me Timmy's, and it was like it was really, really good. So like the whole vibe that I found over there was very, very different, even with the cars, the way the people are, the culture. And the reason I actually wanted to start the podcast talking about these sort of topics is because I find that a lot of the time when people see people like yourself, Allahumma barik, like a public speaker,
they don't see us as a person.
Yeah, as like an ustad, as like you teach. Yeah. You're always talking about the deen. These aren't bad things, obviously. But like they see you as this person that, like, if they saw you like being serious about your coffee or like tinkering in your garage, it's like,
it's not normal.
Yeah, what's this person doing?
Unfortunately, public speakers become one-dimensional.
Okay.
If that makes sense, like that's all there is to them. People will see their videos and be like, that is their standard. That's the way they always must be. Akhi, I could tell you some stories of the ramifications of that are just ridiculous. Please. Like that's just all people see from you. Yeah. You're not allowed, and I don't want to say you're not allowed to be normal, because that is normal. Like the problem is we've equated religiosity with perfection. Yeah, you know what I mean? That in order to be religious, you must not have anything other than deen. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, I went to a masjid before, I don't want to say where. I don't want to out anybody. But I showed up to give a youth lecture. This was a youth halaqa.
Okay.
Youth. And I was wearing jeans and a hoodie. And it was an Islamic hoodie. It was a hoodie. And the brother who picked me up, the imam, was like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where's your thobe? I'm like, I'm not wearing a thobe. I'm just going to this. And he couldn't wrap his head around. On the way there, he's like, I have a thobe in my office to put on if you want to. I'm like, no.
Like you're underdressed.
Yeah. And then he even stopped me and told me, he said, I wish you would have worn a thobe because people see, and he explained that people see you in a certain way. Like all these youth and all of us, we've only seen your videos. We've only seen you online, you know, and you're almost always in a thobe and kufi and stuff like that. So this is what they expect from you. And I'm like, how does what I'm wearing, if it's not impermissible, have any bearing on what I say? You know, how is that going to, just because I'm wearing a thobe or I'm wearing jeans and a hoodie, how does that change what I'm about to say? It would be no different. It's just that standard that you're put to,
no, but like,
which I despise.
Yeah,
I hate it. It's one of the reasons why I've considered dropping out of social media many times.
Wow.
Had taken a year off social media because people hold you to a standard you can't live up to. And if you know yourself personally, like I know myself personally, I cannot live up to that standard.
Subhanallah.
And the struggle of trying to can be detrimental to you. I can end up destroying myself internally.
Yeah.
Trying to hold myself to a standard I know is unrealistic because this is what people expect. That's one of the reasons I did a Reflections podcast.
That's crazy.
To open up that side of me to say, hey, look, here I am.
Subhanallah.
Take it or leave it.
Do you know why I find that crazy? Because of how you're seen. And it's the same thing here. But like, you know what you just described? There's like young brothers, like very young brothers who are on social media who are going through the exact same thing. And I'll go a step further from what you just said, the story that you shared, which is people don't understand the way these things work. Because if you now like rocked up to a talk and you're dressed like that, 100%, some kids are going to look at that and they're going to actually take that as inspiration.
Yeah.
Because they're going to relate with that. That's something people are going to relate with. Like, look at this person. He's dressed just like me. However, it's as if he's actually living in my world kind of thing. But he is that person that I want to be like. Yeah, he's practicing the deen.
It's hard to get everybody around that though, because there's kind of certain standards. There's kind of like a list. Okay, you're a public speaker. This is your list that you must always be wearing a thobe. You must always be talking about religion. You cannot. You must live in the back of a masjid eating rice and dal and curry. You know, you must not have anything that is worth any value. You know, it's almost like you have to be, you know, a zahid. You're almost like you have to. This has to be your line. You can't make mistakes. That's number one. You cannot make a mistake. If you make a mistake, we are going to, you know, publicly lash you and bash you for it for a decade. You know, so it's that standard is becoming problematic because that's not the world we live. That's not reality of any human being, you know. So to hold people, and especially people who clearly are not scholars, most of us public speakers, we are not even on the level of scholar. We're not even on that road, if that makes sense. Not only are we not scholars, we're not even in the field. We are students, you know, and maybe, you know, barely passing grade students at the very best. But we love what we do and we try to help other people. But you're now trying to hold the standards that you would hold someone, you know, who is like right below the Anbiya to. It's just not realistic. It's not realistic. You can't have a flaw. You can't make a mistake. You can't do anything.
And that's why I wanted to start the podcast like this, because I know for a fact that you're one of those speakers, because there's like a list of those type of speakers that are seen. And that's just because you've been around for a very long time.
I've been at it for a long time.
Yeah, so your name is up there, like with Allahumma barik, if I can say, like some of the speakers that will get invited to some of the international conferences and stuff like that, as you already know, I'm sure yourself, as you're in that yourself. So speaking to someone like that on a level, because it's the same thing that I would do with any other speaker just like yourself. I would want to talk about, okay, what do you like as a person? Let's bring your personality out here, because we're always hearing about the deen stuff and whatnot and what you're expected to say, but like no one expects, you know, yourself to come on a podcast and talk about the type of coffee you love, or you like Nespresso machines,
or like building motors from scratch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, it's all, and some people will think that you're not allowed to have those kind of
No,
hobbies.
but it's like the human aspect, because when we read about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his character, we know everything about him, and we know about the things that he was interested in. Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam expressed to us
Like
that wrestling, perfume. He liked perfume. He was into perfume. You know, we have some of the brothers here in iERA.
He liked horses.
Into perfume.
He liked nice riding animals.
Yes.
He had a very nice one.
Yeah.
You know, expensive. Like, he liked decent things.
And it's like, the reason I'm speaking about this now is like, for example, myself, there's certain shops that I like to shop. Like, I really like Uniqlo. I like a lot of my clothes from Uniqlo. I like coffee as well. Like, very recently though, I'm just getting into it. I don't want to, say some things. People are going to judge me for my coffee judgments as well. But like, there's things that us as human beings, us as people who are seen as in the Dawa, that we do, that you do as well. Normal human beings
We
have
all
families.
like things from this world, especially equality. Even the Prophet ﷺ said one of the blessings of this dunya is to be given an expansive house, like an open house, like like a lot of space in your home. Like that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Which anybody who's been in, if you ever been into people who have like these big, airy, open homes, it's
a
just
blessing.
It's a blessing. It's peaceful. It's tranquil. You come home, but it gets lost in translation. A lot of that. You normally have to choose one or two. You can either be a person of the deen, or you can be a person of the dunya.
And it shouldn't be like that.
You cannot do both.
Yeah.
Pick a side, especially if you want to get in the da'wah. If you want to get in the da'wah, take a side. You know what I mean? Are you going to go down this road, or are you going to go down that road? You can't do both. There's no middle ground.
And do you think that, like, bringing it now to normal people and making it a little bit more relatable, do you think that that's because, do you think that results in university students that are looking into the deen to feel a bit scared? But I like this stuff that I do, and it's not necessarily haram, but I'm really, really attached to certain things that I like, hobbies that I like.
Yeah, I don't want to give all that up to be religious.
I don't want to be religious and be like this guy that I see, he's just wearing a hat all the time.
It's the fact that religiosity is not defined properly.
So, like, how would you define religiosity then?
Religiosity.
From the Islamic perspective, of course.
I don't want to get into like terminology and say I'm giving any rulings.
No, of course
but,
not, yeah.
To be religious is more of a state of mind than a state of being, a state of the mind and the heart, because state of mind and heart and actions, there's always going to be a little bit of difference, because we all commit sin. Even the best of us. Every son of Adam sins. So, knowing that religiosity is where your heart and mind is, kind of like the statement that you can possess the world, but don't let the world possess you.
Yeah.
I know people who are very well off in the States. I know some brothers who, mashallah, tabarakallah, they have huge homes, Ferrari in the garage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this brother is on his deen, you know what I mean? He's someone who I would look at and say, mashallah. He reminds me of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our conversations together are about the deen. But on the weekends, we can go out racing. He's showing that you can have. So religiosity is more of a state of heart and mind, that I am living a life to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My heart is attached to the deen of Allah. It is not attached to this world, but yet I still like certain things. You can be religious and have both. It's like, okay, do I like to have a nice, fast, powerful car? Yes. If I got into a wreck tomorrow and it was destroyed, would that change what's in here and in here? If not, it doesn't possess me. It's just a possession.
And that's such a beautiful.
And it doesn't
concept.
affect me. I have no. I recently, people know about my cars and the fact that I had a Shelby. I got rid of it recently.
Okay.
To downgrade life, and my daughter started school, and we want to go down to one car, so I got rid of it. It wasn't a thought. Okay, it's time to do something else until we get settled in some area, and then I'll go back to looking at that hobby again, because it's always going to be in me. Fine, sell it. It's not, some people, if you're attached to it, be like, oh, I gotta get rid of it. I'd hate to see it go.
And it didn't affect you like that.
I don't care about that. It was fun while I was able to do it, but it's just something to take my time. It's not something that has any piece of me.
You see, like me personally, I find that so inspirational. You don't understand.
It doesn't matter.
Because like just like yourself, there's certain things that I'm interested in as well. Like technology, certain types of clothing, etc. And trying to be well groomed and stuff like that. And one of the things that you just said, which I think really hits home about this, is that's the concept of zuhud in Islam. That's the concept of being detached from the dunya.
Yep.
The
Doesn't mean don't have it.
Exactly.
Don't be attached to it.
That's the key part, because it's like there was companions like Abdurrahman bin Auf, like Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhuma.
That list is very long.
Yeah,
Companions who had it all.
Yeah, and they had wealth. They had that, and they dressed good. However,
but they would give every single penny of it away without a second thought.
Yeah, because they weren't attached to it. It wasn't the be all and end all.
It was a means to an end.
And that's where concepts like minimalism come into play. And this is why I'm very passionate about stuff like this, because I find that a lot of these modern day concepts, I don't know if you relate with this, but you find modern day concepts and like trends coming up, and so many of them go back to Islam.
Yeah, they go back. Yeah.
So many of them are included within Islam.
And I'm a person who likes minimalism. I don't like to have a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't like to have a lot of possessions. I get claustrophobic very easily when my house becomes cluttered.
Yeah.
Like and this is where, family and me and my wife and kids, we have a little bit of disagreement on, because if it was for me, and let's just say I could have things exactly what I want them, they'd be very little. It'd be minimal, clinical. It would look like a doctor's office when you walked in, because I just like things that way. And it's all part of, not being attached, having the possessions of a traveler, things of that nature. Doesn't mean you can't have nice things. Travelers travel. I travel for a living, and I like to travel with nice things. I like to have a nice luggage, nice computer to work on and get things done. But if you lost all that, if your baggage got lost, would you break down and cry?
Would it destroy your day?
Would you destroy your day? Would you be displeased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why'd you take this stuff from me? It's different.
I want to give an example.
Allah gives, Allah takes.
I want to give an example of someone beloved to me that I was actually on holiday with, and they lost their passport. They lost their passport while we were on holiday, and I don't want to mention where we were, but we were in a country where
getting another one's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very hard. So basically, you're stuck here, and you're probably gonna miss your flight. Like you're basically doomed up until you can fix your situation. This person, when they lost their passport, they were smiling and they were acting like it's fine. We went to a restaurant, we ate, we went out, we were normal. When we ate, they offered to pay, and they tried to pay and fought to pay, and it was as if nothing happened. And I was thinking, this is where I pondered Ustad Yusha, and I thought to myself, if I was in that situation, I would be going nuts right now.
Whoa. Stressed.
How am I gonna get home? Am I gonna see my mom?
I don't even want to eat right now.
Yeah, like how can I eat? What are you talking about? Eat, pay, you pay. Like,
the world is coming to an end.
My world is coming down, and I feel like this is where Islam. This comes back to one of the conversations we were having off the podcast. This is where Islam truly liberates people, where it teaches you principles and principalities. Where if things happen to you, this is how you deal with things.
Yeah, it all goes back to Tawheed. This is part of Rububiyyah. Understanding that Allah is Rabb. He's in control.
Man.
He controls. Like that's it. If I spent 10 years building a nice expensive house and it burns down the first week, Allah is Rabb.
And I've seen people,
that's it,
who truly implement their knowledge. Another example, one of my good friends, he's a graduate from one of the Islamic universities, the Islamic University of Medina, and he's an imam, and his father passed away. May Allah have mercy on him. And in a very sudden way. And he was put in a situation where he has to take control of his family now. And I went to his janazah, and I was emotional, and I was like on the verge of tears and stuff like that. Do you know, when I looked at him, do you know what he was doing? He was laughing. Like, we're burying your dad.
Yeah.
Like, and you're smiling and you're laughing and you're like with your friends and you're like, it's okay, like no problem. Like, and I was like, this person, like, look at this person. Like, he's truly, and like, not in an insensitive way, by the way, like, having a laugh, but like, he's smiling. He's there for his family. He's strong. And it shows how Islam, because that's from Islam, Islam has made him someone who's like a real man. Like, he's strong for his family. He's there for his family, and he's able to take control.
Yep.
He's able to take control. You spoke about traveling. I mean, I want to move a little bit into that as well. What would you say your favorite places that you've traveled to? It's a cliche question.
It is a cliche question, and always, Medina's on the top of my list. You know what I mean? You could drop me off there, and I could be homeless for the rest of my life, and I'd be satisfied.
Okay, so let's say aside from Medina,
but my favorite places to travel, and I'm not saying this just because I'm here, are UK and Australia until I got banned. And the reason being is because of the Brotherhood.
Mm.
You understand that there's Brotherhood. I don't like London. Tell you straightforward, I don't like it. It screams against everything that is my base nature. I don't like cities. I don't like hustle and bustle. I don't like a lot of people. I don't like crowds. I'm just not like that. I live on the outskirts near a cornfield in Minnesota.
Wow.
I like to be on the outside. But I like London because of the Brotherhood and the food. The food's not too bad. But the same way in Australia. Australia, there's a lot of... I don't want to say Australia because most of Australia is uninhabited. But, New South Wales, which is like Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, all of that area.
Okay.
The Brotherhood. Because that's something you don't find very much in the States. There's a lot of Muslims. There's a lot of du'at. There's a lot of organizations that don't work together.
Interesting.
There's no ta'wa and there's no helping each other. There's no brotherhood, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And in my personal life, a lot of times I have been a popular loner, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people and a lot of people know me.
Yeah, I relate with that a lot.
I don't have very many friends.
I relate with that a lot.
My circle is so small.
Yeah. Like if you, I'm sure you relate with this then. Like if
people think that you must have like 1 million friends.
Yeah, that's how people think. Like me,
I have like 2.
If I want to go out, there's literally, I'm thinking off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4 people I can call.
Yeah.
That I'm on that level with.
I actually
like,
have more people I'm on that level with here in London than anywhere else in the world.
Crazy.
That I could come here and be like, let's go and hang out and grab a bite to eat or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I know tons of people know, tons of people think they know me.
Yeah.
But I don't have, I keep my circle extremely small. So yeah, I would say London is, and I also come here like 4 or 5 times a year. So
I don't think we can have a conversation with you and not talk about Dawa because it's something you've been doing for a very long time. However, I want to speak about it from a little bit of a different perspective. So, the person you are today, the things that you've seen, traveled, seen the world, Allahumma barak, spoken in front of thousands and thousands of people. Many of us have watched your videos, benefited from them. Jazakallahu khairan. What is one thing, if you could go back 10 years, that you would say to Ustad Yusha Evans 10 years ago? What is that one thing that you would say to yourself?
10 years ago. 10 years ago would be the year that the video, How the Bible Led Me to Islam.
Yeah, that's like the
major
video,
one. Yeah. That was when that was recorded, by the way, 10 years ago. If I could talk to me 10 years ago.
What are you saying to yourself?
I don't want to be too extreme. The thing I probably would have said to myself was stay unknown.
Really?
Stay unknown. Try to find a way to get yourself involved in the da'wah, making progress, making change holistically without having to have your name attached to it.
Why?
Because I don't know if the trials, struggles, fitna of being known is worth the benefit that comes along with it. I don't know. Especially if there was a way you could do it without having it be you. You get what I'm saying? Without having you to be the brand. Because that's the problem with being a public speaker, is that you are the brand. In order to push your da'wah out, it's relied on your personality. It's relied on your brand.
Yeah.
You're not doing, like, I'd like to be able to be like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Yeah. Being able to make things happen for the da'wah, make things happen for the deen without having to be the personal frontman for it.
That's very interesting, because I was speaking to one of the CEOs of one of the leading organizations here, Dawa organizations, and this CEO isn't known. So it's not Saad Hamza, but this CEO is not like known. Like, people won't know him. Like, he'll be walking down the street, you won't
nobody recognize him.
Normal brother, just with his wife, like walking down the street. And he literally said to me, if there's one thing that, like, basically he expressed to me that I love about me, is that I'm doing da'wah and it's on a big scale, but no one knows who I am. Even du'at won't know who I am.
Yeah.
If they saw me, they won't know. You have to introduce me. This is the CEO of, and they'll be like, oh wow, really?
That's what I would have said. If I could go back to 10 years ago, I would say I would want to be where I'm at now as far as helping people, but have done it from a behind the scenes level.
I don't think people understand how being in the public eye affects your family as well.
It affects every facet of your life.
Like, it affects you. I'll give you.
And that's not saying it. I'm not here saying it, just to try to put across a front or be humble.
It's not.
I actually despise it.
Yeah.
On a very deep level. This is probably the most disgusting thing in my household, is my despisement for acclimate or being known. You know, I cannot stand it, and that's one thing I would have changed. If I go back 10 years, yeah, I'd have changed that. And I'm still looking to change that. I'm still looking to find other things like with this Path to Peace project and stuff like that, to where we can continue to do good work, and I can fade. I can fade back a little bit. You know what I mean? Not be the public front or face for it whatsoever, because being known is a travesty.
What's your main reasons for saying that? Because you're speaking about it very like it's like,
I despise it.
For what reason though?
Because number one, it plays with your intent. Number one, always. It's always a struggle.
Yeah.
To keep your intentions well. Are you doing this because you sincerely want to do it for the sake of Allah, or you know, is it for followers, number count? You know, I mean, are you swayed by, you know, how many likes you're getting on your post, how many follows you're getting on social media, how many views you're getting on YouTube, how many subscribers you're getting? You know, the intention comes into it. Not only that, but everybody thinks they have a right to you. You become public property. I feel like I've lost a majority of my own possession of myself, because people think if you're a public speaker, we have the right to know everything about you. We have the right to know every part of your life. We have the right to dig through your life. We have a right to question, you know, parts of your life. And we also have a right to call you to account in a public manner for anything that we see askew or out of place or mistake.
It's a perverted way of thinking, because
super.
When you look at it, it's literally perverted, because when you write any of our names, or people who are half like known in the public, like this guy's not even like famous, he's just like half known. If you write his name, you know what you're gonna see next to it? The first thing, wife.
Yeah,
you're gonna say
100%.
This guy's wife. This guy's kid.
You type in Yusha Evans, it's one of the suggestions, Yusha Evans' wife.
Same, it's the first suggestion for me.
Yusha Evans' extremism. Yusha Evans, it's never good.
And it's like people are just so like nosy. They want to know what's going on in your life. They want to know like what you're doing, how much money you make, how much did you get paid for that, what's this, what's that, etc. And
he's wearing a nice jacket, who paid for that? You know what I mean? We saw him fundraising for a masjid 3 months ago. he must be taking you know, fundraising money. It's just like you have to justify everything in your life. And that's not me. It's not only is it not difficult, it is the antithesis of who I am. I am a private person, extremely reclusive. If you'd have known me before the public thing, or even before Islam, like I strove to remain unknown, the quiet guy who sits in the corner and observes. You know, that's just who I was. I wanted to go through life never being noticed.
But you know, with what you're saying, Ustad Yusha, I feel like it's people like yourselves who need to be in the public, because we've created this society. We've created this society of people that are dying, with emphasis on the D, dying to literally be in front of cameras.
I know.
Be on social media, have followers.
And I've warned all of them that I've seen coming up in the past.
And it's
and
like,
you know this because I sat with you guys.
Yeah. I mean,
was it like 8 years ago, 7 years ago?
Yeah, to give that context, I mean, Ustad Yusha, Jazakallah Khair, sat with myself and some other brothers years ago in East London. I still remember as well. I'm pretty sure it was in East London.
It was in East London. We were at Sahara Grill, and then I think the second time was at Meatco.
Okay, yeah.
Westfield.
Yeah. And you gave us advice, and you said to us, just stay in your lane.
That's it.
You said just stay in your lane.
And don't try to do this to become known.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because that the way in which you're feeling right now is something that I felt before as well. And it's like when you get married, your wife feels it as well. She starts to feel it.
Yeah, of course.
And then like jealousy hits. Like I don't even want to start to like talk about the things that some of these people go through in the dawah. Like so and so, this sister is jealous of your wife because she married you.
Yep.
She wanted to marry you, and it's like you get like ridiculous things happening. Ridiculous things.
Nobody knows about these things.
Black magic, sihr.
No one understands these. The evil eye is real.
Yeah,
it's real, and it's something that as a public speaker, it's like I have to be on constant vigilant guard against it. Evil eye is real. That's why I don't post my kids on social media. I don't post my wife. I don't post what I'm doing in my private life. I never record films and videos inside my home. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things that I try to keep a bubble around, that this is my private life. You do not get the exclusive right to have access to my private life just because I'm a public speaker.
You know, you said evil eye is real. I was thinking about this today. I was literally on social media and I was scrolling through. And you know what I literally thought? On the train to work today. I thought to myself, Subhanallah, if you really believed, you're a Muslim, but if you really believed, and I was thinking about these people, that evil eye is real, hasad is real, hasad is envy, jealousy is real. If you believe that black magic is real, and you believe jinns and jinnat, that are evil jinns and jinnat out there are real, if you believed all four of these things are real, and more, I'm sure the list goes on, you wouldn't post that.
No.
You wouldn't post it. You'd be scared to post that. And I was talking to my mum about this last night. It's crazy how all of these conversations, this is the qadr of Allah, are coming together, especially for me, because she was expressing to me how, like, you're not doing your adhkar, you're going to be messed up. Like, I mean, I want to ask you about this.
Adhkar, dua before leaving the home, you know.
How have you heard about, and if you could share some examples for us of stories of people who have been affected by problems in their life and serious issues because of not paying heed to what we're talking about right now?
I couldn't give you any specific examples, no. Okay. But I do know that there are people who have reached out to me who I can, telling me they're going through things like that, who when I go and look at their social media and stuff like that, can see that there was probably some correlating factor. Because if you only, and take this with the grain of salt, social media, I believe, is like a huge arm or wing of giving us an understanding of how close the time of Ad-Dajjal is. Because we know that the system of Ad-Dajjal is going to be a system of deception. That's it. That's how he's going to rule, is through deception. His whole system is based on being deceived or being deceitful and deceiving people and tricking people and making them think that what's up is down and down is up and left and right. Social media is that to a T. That is the description of social media, is a pure deception. Nothing is ever what it seems to be. I guarantee you that there is probably a 0.00 and then some number after that percentage of social media accounts that have any genuineness to them. Even mine. None of ours are genuine because we're only posting the good things. We're picking and choosing parts of our lives to show you, to paint a picture. And that's never reality. Nobody's social media is reality. So when I've seen it lately, I was sitting back thinking that we are not far away from Dajjal, because people are envious of each other on social media. They're hating on each other on social media. They have, envious and jealousy, and none of it's real. You are envious over a person based on their social media account. That's not real. You're envious over a falsehood. That's not who I am.
I know of someone who is 100% envied because of their looks. MashaAllah, Allahumma barak, very good looking and stuff like that. And they plaster, etc. themselves all over social media.
Yeah.
And can you imagine how shocked I was to hear that this person is insecure?
Oh, of course, 100%.
With their looks.
I know they are. Yeah.
But it's like when you look at them, you think, what? What are you insecure for? And this is, and even as someone on social media, I know exactly what you're saying, because look, guys, you're looking at this brother or sister, you're looking at them happily, etc.
You don't know.
Who the people who are online talk to each other. You don't know they're going through a divorce.
You have no idea what they're going through.
You don't know that he's cheating on her. You don't know that she's not even like that. You don't know, there's so many things you don't know.
It's hard. When people I'll have people message me saying that, oh, brother, you're such an amazing person. How do you know that? How do you know I'm an amazing person?
Yeah.
You don't know me. Oh, we've seen your videos. What? If I am judged as a human being based on some videos you've seen on YouTube, number one, I'm insulted that you think that's all there is to me. I'm that shallow.
Comes back to
There's
what we started.
no depth in me. That I'm like this thing, that's it. A sheet of paper.
Yeah.
You don't know me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't. And it's not because you're calling me amazing. It's just for the fact that you think you know me.
Yeah.
You don't have no idea who I am. And I think people who saw the first few podcasts I did on Reflections had to take a step back. Say, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's way more going on. And I wanted to do that for a reason. I wanted to show people that just because person's a public speaker, you see them on global platform traveling the world, don't mean that their life is, cream puffs and rainbows.
In this person's private life, they swear at their wife. They abuse their wife.
Not only that, but I've tried to teach for many years that the du'at are tested the most.
They tested the most, 100%.
The hardest.
Yeah, 100%.
The shaitan, I know, has made a public enemy of me because of these YouTube videos. So don't come praising me about that. All you're doing is helping shaitan come at me even harder. So that's another reason why I would like to stay back from the public eye.
Yeah, you're tested.
Shaitan, go bother somebody else. You know what I mean? Because they come at those who are in the public eye worse, harder than anybody.
What you just said is so true. The du'at are tested the most.
And they'll keep coming, and he keeps coming, and he gets better
with different issues, with different problems, with finances, with family, with etc. and whatnot. And you even find some people who do know about this. They say, why is it that this guy, he's religious and he's in the Dawa? Why is he doing that for? Why is he struggling with that for, etc.? Man, you don't know. Like, these people, as you said, are public enemy number one. And it goes with both things. In the beginning, we spoke about good things that you don't know. Hobbies of the person you don't know that they're into. In the same way, you don't know the bad of a person.
It struggles.
And it comes back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he expressed to us, don't love someone so much, one day you're going to hate them.
Yeah.
And don't hate someone so much, one day you're going to love them. Be a balanced person. And it literally comes down to that. And understanding this is key to understanding the way in which social media works. I believe social media deceives people every single day from the perspective of wealth, from the perspective of, when I get married, my wife needs to look like that.
Or happiness.
Yeah.
What happiness even means.
What is happiness to you, yeah? Or goals. Everyone wants to do the same thing nowadays.
I think, to be honest with you, social media has been one of the biggest travesties of the modern world.
It's interesting. And a point that just came
the world would be a better place without it. That's my flat out opinion.
That's deep. But
because I've been in the Dawa before and after social media.
Okay.
That's how I can, I maybe have a little bit more insight on that.
Exactly.
Because I've been around before.
Yeah.
I remember YouTube coming about and me and Yusha Evans being some of the very first people to ever put Islamic videos on YouTube. I remember having a Facebook when you had to have a .edu account because it was only for college students. I remember this. I remember a time before iPhone in the Dawa. You know what I mean? So it's different. It's more easy now. The Dawa's been made a whole lot more easy. I mean, look what we're doing right now, and this is, can reach 10 million people next week.
It depends what you use it for.
But I don't know if the good outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Of social media?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I think it
doesn't. 100% it doesn't.
I honestly think the world would be so much of a better place.
The way
without it.
The reason I'm so sure it doesn't is because how many people are there doing good work and Dawa online? Okay, fine. Yeah, there is a lot. But how many people are there doing crazy stuff? Much more. How many haram websites are there? Much more. How many pornography websites are there alone?
Well, the problem with social media is it's the access, the accessibility. There's a reason why I like putting out YouTube videos, because you can just stick the video on YouTube and step back.
Okay.
Social media is almost like you putting yourself into the global community.
Interesting.
And they feel like, okay, he made a post this morning. Look at that breakfast. I can message him right now. You shouldn't be eating that, it's haram, or you were drinking with your left hand even though the image was mirrored, or you shouldn't be, posting your blessings, or just how are you, everybody feels like they should have access. Brother Abdurrahim McCarthy made a mention about this not too long ago, about that we should be able to teach people how to approach not only scholars but du'at and public speakers. Like, people just randomly will video chat me. Random. I'll go on my social media, it's like 20 missed. You know what I mean? People find my number because I've had the same number for like 15 years, and just call me on WhatsApp or FaceTime me randomly FaceTime me on my phone. And why it's like, who is that FaceTiming you? I have absolutely no idea. I don't even recognize.
I've had that.
You feel like public property. It almost feels, you almost feel violated, if that makes sense.
I remember
you feel violated.
I couldn't respond to someone's message and they started swearing at me.
That's like the least of things that I've had. But I honestly sometimes feel violated, like my personal space is violated. You feel like you should have the right to do so because you're a public speaker.
Yeah.
You owe us to have constant access to everything about your life.
So you know even when we think about the Sahaba, and we think about pious predecessors, right, of ours in our tradition, in our Islamic tradition, we even know their mistakes.
Yeah.
We even know their mistakes. We know about mistakes of people of the past.
Yeah, of course.
But people don't know our mistakes today.
Well, because they can't. They will never let you live it down. The Muslim community is the most judgmental, harsh, and unforgiving religious community on the planet. There's no doubt about it in my mind. We are the most judgmental against each other. The most. You don't find any other group of people, religious group, as judgmental about one another as we are. As much qila and qala as we have, it is ridiculous. And we don't let things slide. There's no path to, like I talk about youth a lot because I'm very involved in the youth, is that we have to allow our youth, and I talk to this a lot amongst the elders, the uncles and the aunties. You have to be willing to allow the youth of today to make mistakes. They need to have freedom to make mistakes. How are they ever going to learn if you're expecting them perfection? You learn things sometimes. We coddle our youth way too much. I grew up quite differently. You know that if I kept wanting to grab put my finger in an electrical outlet, rather than, now parents are going to build like a fortress around the outlet so the kid can't get to it. My grandfather was like, hey, let him touch it. He'll do it once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let him touch it. He'll do it one time.
On that, even my upbringing, my dad, subhanAllah, like people in my family used to criticize my parents because he's 12 years old. Why are you letting him go out like that? Why is he coming home at this time? Why is he, for example, going to school in East London when you live in Northwest London? Why is he doing that? He's going by himself. Yeah, and literally, my dad. When I think about them now, it makes sense to me. But at the time, it didn't make sense. My dad literally let me make mistakes.
You have to
make mistakes. I'm going out to make a mistake. My dad's like, yeah, it's fine. I'll see you later.
He's going to learn from you. You have to be able to make mistakes.
And subhanAllah al-azim, that just made me realize things myself.
Yep.
It made me realize things myself. And that way, it gives you yaqeen. It gives you strength in what you believe. It gives you strength as a person. And it also...
It's experience.
Yeah, and curiosity. It killed the cat. It killed the cat, right?
Yep.
Curiosity won't kill you.
Yep.
If a lot of
you've been there, done that.
Exactly.
You've experienced it.
Exactly.
But that's the problem with the Muslims aren't really forgiving with each other like that when it comes to especially the bar is raised for public speakers. You're not allowed to make mistakes. You understand? It almost comes to a point to where you have to feel on some level a hypocrite. This has been a struggle for me as well.
Yeah, I felt like that before.
Hypocrite. Yeah. Because I know I'm flawed. I know I make mistakes. I know I make mistakes. Yeah, sometimes bad mistakes. But I'm not allowed to ever allow anyone to see them. I have to hide them like I'm hiding bodies. You know what I mean? Like I'm hiding murder victims. Because if anyone finds out, it's the destruction of your da'wah. And thinking that way, to me, feels like nifaq. Feels like hypocrisy.
Yeah, no,
I'm not hiding this for the sake of Allah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm hiding this for the sake of what I do.
Like
and I don't want things become a drama for my family.
When you read the Qur'an, like me, I don't know if you experienced this, like while going through things like that, but when I would read the Qur'an, and I would read ayat like في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. Other ayat, Surah Munafiqun. You read ayat about Munafiqun. You read ayat, for example, laziness is only mentioned twice in the Qur'an, and both times it's talking about the Munafiqeen. Now, when I would do stuff like that, and I'm online and stuff like that, and I would read ayat like that, they would really affect me because I'd think, I feel like this is talking about me. I feel like this is talking about me. I literally feel it, and it's not. Ustad Yusha, there's one thing, humility. Humility is one, because some people might think you're being humble, and there's another. No, this is real. Like,
yeah, but it's not being humble, it's being realistic.
This is like me being real. And yes, an aspect of it is definitely good, that you're relating the Qur'an with yourself so you can change, etc. and whatnot. But an aspect of it is, how have we created our society? So I want to ask you a question now, a direct question. We've spoken about social media. We've spoken about these issues that are happening as a result of social media. What's the solution? There's a 16, 17-year-old watching us right now, 18-year-old. He's on Instagram every day. He sees fahsha. He sees crazy things. He sees guys that have got gold diamond watches and whatnot, and he doesn't have that. They got perfect lives by the looks of it, that he doesn't have that.
Well,
what's the solution?
Okay, the solution is not get off social media. I know a lot of people like to say that, just get off social media. Yeah. That's for the few, and like very few people can accomplish that. People like Ustad Tim and stuff like that. Like, I envy that guy's life, you know what I mean? But we're not gonna go there. So we know our youth are not gonna come off social media.
Yeah.
Let's just be realistic. So my advice was to look at social media the same way you look at a TV show or a movie. Okay. You know, that it's fantasy, it's fiction. You know what I mean? It's not real.
Interesting.
So take it with a grain of salt like that. Like, okay, you see a brother out, oh, he's flashing gold and diamonds. Look at it just like you're watching a rap video. You know, he don't own that. You know what I mean? You know that's not the reality when the camera goes off. So look at it, take it with that grain of salt. And I think we've learned from some issues that have happened in the recent past that everything is not always what it seems on social media.
100%.
Everything is not always what it seems.
100%.
And going in it with that understanding that your life, because the problem is, I don't even understand this psychology to begin with, is that we look at how people can sit and look at other people's social media and think it's a reality when you know good and well your own social media is not a reality. Yeah. You're holding other people at a standard you don't even hold your own self on social media. You know, you only post what you want people to see. And so take it with a grain of salt and know that that's just a snippet of somebody's life in a presentation of the way they want you to see them, the way they want you to see them. Just take it as it is. Just take it as it is. Don't get wrapped up in it. Do not become envious of somebody on social media. That's not the reality. And you know that's even if you know that person quite well, you'll know that their social media is only snippets of the good in their life. So take it with that grain of salt. Look at it as it should be. It's fantasy. It's fiction. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it. Simple as that. Don't let it have any effect on you. To be honest with you, Akhi, I would love to be able to go right now today and delete every one of my accounts. Oh, it would be like being released from prison. But I also know that it would affect the work that I do. So I'm always caught in this very weird spot.
Yeah.
To where there's been so many times I've been ready to deactivate all of it. Every single bit of it. I actually went off social media back in 2016 for like nearly a year. Just posted like once a month. Just random stuff for like a year. I was gone off Instagram.
I mean, I only do ReRooted. I'm not really, like, even now for the last couple of years. And you know when you go off it, you realize even more. You realize even more. You know when you're in something,
you don't see it as much.
When you come out, it's like,
you know how much more free time I'd have in my life and how much more peace in my heart I would have if I didn't have social media? I probably wouldn't know much what was going on in the world, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. You know, they say sometimes ignorance is bliss. Ignorance in certain areas is bliss. You know, even the Prophet ﷺ said during the times of fitna, like he talked about the craziness that would be going on in the end of days. And the companions asked him, what should he do? He said, go away from it. Go. Even if you have to go by yourself, just to be away from it. So ignorance in some cases
we're drowning
is bliss. We're drowning in it. We're jumping in head first.
Literally, you wake up first thing, like, and don't lie to yourselves. The people who are watching this, what's the first thing
you check? Your social media.
You check your Instagram. You check your WhatsApp. You check your Facebook, etc. And that's how it's become.
Yeah, I would love to get off of it. You know what I mean? Or I'd love to, you know, I'd love to be, if men could wear niqab. You know, if we could mask it out and just not even be recognized.
You know, this reminds me of one of the scholars of the past. His name was Abu Ubaid ibn al-Qasim. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim bin Salama, his name was. He was one of the first scholars in Qira'at and in the science of the Qur'an. And he mentioned something. He went to a doctor. So when he went to this doctor, he wasn't well. So he went to this doctor, and his doctor said to him, "You're gonna die. You're gonna die, basically. You're in your last stretch, basically. And how long have I got left?" And it reminds you of what happens today with issues like cancer and stuff like that. The doctor said to him, "You've got 10 years left of your life." And you know what he said? He said, "Al-insanu fi ghafla," that mankind, the human being, heedless. And this is a scholar. Yes. This is a scholar. The human being is heedless up until he is hit with a calamity. I've been hit with a calamity. Oh boy.
Everything comes into
Now-
clear picture then.
Yeah, it's like
I gotta get it together.
one of the great scholars of the past. We call him Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah. If you, at the end of his life, you know, guys, you know how we realize this when we look at people who done amazing things and what they say. Some of the reports about Ibn Taymiyyah, you know, we all know them. He memorized the Qur'an at like the age of 7 or something, wrote around 900 books. He was giving fatwa around the age of 18, 17, etc. He's doing this, he's doing that, etc. Lived his life, wrote many books off the top of his head when he was in prison, all of these things. But look at what this person said. Some of the last words that he said before he passed away were, I regret that I didn't spend more of my life with the Qur'an. And like,
calamities are this I can't remember who said it, but the famous saying that a calamity that brings you closer to Allah is better than better than the gifts from Allah that distance you from Him. Most of us don't become awake to that time anyway until something bad happens, but
I guess that's what it's like. I was speaking to one of my friends. His father is a very successful businessman, mashallah, and he's like the people that you described who are very successful, but they're people of zuhud. They're detached from it, and they give charity in the bulk, Allahumma barak, and stuff like that. And you know what he said to me? He said to me, the good businessman learns from his own mistakes. He said, but the best businessman learns from other people's mistakes.
Doesn't have to do it himself.
And when you think about it like that, I mean, right now we have the choice. I mean, we're listening to this, I'm listening to this, to declutter our life from the perspective of social media, from the perspective of, I mean, if you think about it, many people are depressed, they're anxious, etc. If you walked into a room today, like right now, if we imagined it, we walked into a room today and it's full of clutter everywhere. We've all seen it. You walk into your room, it's clutter, hasn't been cleaned in like 2 months. Your clothes are everywhere, you can't find anything, the frustration it brings you. That's exactly what you're doing with your head. That's what you're doing with your head. With social media, that's what you're doing with your head.
It's a lot of clutter. And it's not so much that you have to declutter it. Declutter the attachment. We're not telling everybody to live, a life of, nothing. That you have to wear like woolen dirty clothes and you don't have to look a homeless person. No. The point is the attachment to it. How much space you need to ask yourself, the things that I have in my life, whether they be possessions or things that you like, or how much space do they take up mentally and emotionally, which will translate to spiritually. How much space are they taking up? Because they should really take up a very minute space in your heart and mind, because they're things. They come and they go. You understand? They come and they go. For me, like I like building cars, but for me, it's not about the car itself. It's a possession. For me, it's the experience the state of mind that I get in. The fact that I'm able to take chunks of metal and turn them into 1,000 horsepower machines. That to me that feels like it's an accomplishment. It strengthens my mind. But at the end of the day, once I've done that. And I know this because once I'm done with that and I can't tinker with it anymore, I'm usually ready to get rid of it. Like, no, I need, because the experience is gone. So let things, if they're not enhancing your life, they're just possessions.
Allahu Akbar.
They're just possessions. They're just collecting things. That's what they say about rich people, that rich people buy things until they can't buy them anymore, then they just start collecting. Most rich people have collections of something, because they bought all of them. They just start collecting them. They take up space and, they have maintenance and it becomes a burden. Don't let these things become burdens to your life. If so, walk away. Take a break. Deactivate your social media for a week.
And see how it makes you feel.
Just see how it makes you feel. Just see how it makes you feel. Some people become stressed and anxious, and if that's the case, you really need to step away. Like, you really need to get some hang on this. Like, for me, the stress and the anxiety comes from the social media. Not if I turned it off, it would just be like, wow. Literally, I would love to be able to do so.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people might be like that, but they just don't know it.
They don't realize it.
They don't know it yet. Another thing, and probably the last thing that I wanted to speak to you about today, Ustaz Yusha, was about new Muslims. Do you feel like there's enough support for new Muslims?
No.
So
not even close.
I want to run you by an idea. So at iERA, alhamdulillah, some of the work that we do involves empowering new Muslims by spending time with them on a grassroots level, courses, etc., different things. Now, alhamdulillah, like in the end of December, we're looking to do an event. We're looking to do an event. It's called Signs. Okay, so it's going to be like a big event, inshallah. And this is going to be a conference, but the marketing for this conference is going to be a little bit different. With this conference, I know, for example, one non-Muslim friend. He's a music video director. He's directed music videos for some of the biggest artists in the world. And he's very interested in Islam. This conference is for people to bring their non-Muslim friends, and for reverts like yourself, to bring their non-Muslim family members to this event, and you let the people who have been giving the da'wah give them da'wah in a very subtle way. So explain to them the basics of Islam, etc., etc. What do you think of that idea?
It's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, it's not something, I don't think anything's been done on a grand scale like that before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's what we're thinking of doing. We're thinking of basically having an event where people come and they bring their friends. And you know very well, I mean, more than most people, one of the biggest struggles when it comes to da'wah that people find is, oh, so-and-so said this to me, how do I respond to this?
Yeah.
How do I respond to that? How do I respond to that? So here, what we're trying to do is, we're going to cut all of that out. We're going to bring you the people who do the da'wah, the people that you see, people like Ustad Hamza, etc., who deal with different issues, different niche issues, Christianity, atheism, etc., and clarify those things for you in the flesh, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So, an advice. I wanted to ask you for advice. As someone who was once a new Muslim yourself, what is the most important thing when dealing with people who are not yet Muslims and people when they do take that first step of taking their shahada? What's the key thing that we need to be thinking about?
The key thing that a new Muslim needs is attachment.
Okay.
Attachment to three things.
Okay.
Attachment to Allah.
Okay.
That can't be stressed enough. And this was, not only have I experienced it and seen it and felt it and seen it again and again and again, it's also taught to us by Aisha radiallahu anha wa radaha, when she said if Allah had revealed the verses of halal and haram first, the people would have ran. But what he did was reveal the verses of Jannah and Nar so that the people's hearts would become attached to Allah. Therefore, whatever he told them after that, they accepted it. Sami'na wa ta'ana. So attachment to Allah, because that makes a person practicing Islam much easier. You don't have to force them to do something, they're going to want to do it themselves. So attachment to Allah, attachment to Tawheed and the Deen, attachment to the religion. Like, what I mean by attachment is get them involved in some regular, structured learning program, whether that's, on their own self-study, online, in person, whatever. They need an attachment to the Deen, because you can't survive without it as a new Muslim. You're going to get dragged right back into the life you already know. And number 3 is attachment to the community. They need to be integrated into the Muslim community. Okay. And not integrated in the form that they need to choose to either you can be a Pakistani or you can be an Arab. You know what I mean? You can wear a thobe or you can wear short or kameez, or, you know what I mean?
But accepted.
Accepted in the sense that they become one of us. They become part and parcel of the community. They get invited to brothers' homes. On Eid, they have somewhere to go. They can
get married.
They can get married. They need to be integrated. So those 3 attachments are key. If they are weak, this person's not going to survive as a Muslim. If their attachment to Allah is weak, of course, that's clear. They're gone. They're going to be gone. If they don't have attachment to the religion, they could have attachment to Allah and not attachment to the religion and be misguided. They could end up being, extremists. You know what I mean? They could end up being caught up in movements and crazy stuff because they don't have any attachment and grounding to understanding what the religion is really about.
That makes
they have zeal of attachment to Allah, but it's misguided. They can easily, those types of people can easily be influenced. And we see that some of these deviated methodologies focus on new Muslims because they know that.
Wow. That is so profound. And subhanAllah, Ustad Yusha, Jazakallah khair, honestly, for coming on the podcast. I really think that this is a topic that we can explore in so much detail, and we definitely look forward to having you on again. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Brothers and sisters, on that note, we have many, many more guests, just like Ustad Yusha, lined up for the podcast, inshallah. So make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you leave your comments in the suggestions down below. Your suggestions in the comments down below, and listen to ReRooted on any of the major podcast platforms out there, inshallah. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Until the next one, take care of yourselves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace.